Because he just doesn't think it matters. He just doesn't think it matters what happens to working people. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about us.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Tommy Tuberville.
Boo.
Yeah,
Hiss.
Tommy Tuberville is, he was elected as a Republican, and, obviously, as a Republican, he has an obligation to pretend to care about law and order and back the blue, and I love cops, and I love law enforcement, and all this kind of stuff. But we have talked about over and over and over again how conservative pundits and politicians are only interested in enforcing the law when the recipients of the enforcement are poor people, are workers. That's the only times that they're interested in enforcing the law, and that they're interested in making the lawbreakers answer for their crimes. And we've got another example of that just last week, when here again, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders showing support for Alabama workers, while our politicians sneer at us. So Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders sent a letter to Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, requesting that he testify in front of the U.S. Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee to answer for his illegal union-busting activities. And this is obviously the case that he has broken the law. He has directed his company to violate our federal labor law. This is indisputable, absolutely indisputable. And it's happened even here in Alabama. Alabama has 85 Starbucks stores, and we wrote about this actually on our website, tvlr.fm. You can go to the articles section, and Haley Zarnick, from an organizer with the Campus Workers of America, CWA, United Campus Workers, CWA. So definitely check the article out. There's going to be some stuff in there that we don't actually go over. But, Alabama's got 85 Starbucks stores, and 2 of them have held union elections. Both of them won, but only after significant retaliation from the company. And since the elections, they've faced significant retaliation from the company. At the Starbucks store, 2 organizers were fired just before ballots went out, while others at both the Scottsboro store and the unionized Birmingham location faced hour cuts and schedule changes. The Birmingham Starbucks workers faced terminations as well, and one of those terminated organizers, former shift supervisor Kyle McGuckin, was fired in October immediately after returning from paternity leave. McGuckin had been organizing publicly for months. He talked to us on the program, and he was denied his wine garden rights while they requested a union representative be present for the meeting in which they were terminated. And so, that's a violation of labor law. When a worker is facing termination, or is facing any kind of discipline, they have a right in a union workplace to have a union representative there. And Kyle McGuckin, they were not allowed to have their union representative. And it's just, all of this is just so flagrant. But obviously, Alabama Starbucks workers aren't the only people seeing this kind of illegal retaliation. And, in fact, in some places, it's been worse. Starbucks Workers United, the union that most of these organizers are unionizing with, they say that over 100 workers across the country have been fired in retaliation, and that the hour cuts and schedule changes that Alabama Starbucks workers are seeing are part of a national campaign to try to demoralize the workforce. Just on the other side of the Alabama-Georgia line, a vocal pro-union worker was fired for tweeting that he was told to work while testing positive for COVID, which is all facts. He was testing for COVID. He tested positive, and he was unsymptomatic. He felt fine, but he was testing positive for COVID. And he told his employer, his boss, he was like, I probably shouldn't come in. I'm still testing positive for COVID. And, as a Starbucks customer, I do not want asymptomatic COVID positive people serving me coffee. Okay? Like, I just don't want that. I don't want that as a customer, and I would assume, I don't want a person with a cold, not even just COVID. I don't want a person with a cold serving me coffee. And I assume that most Starbucks customers, most customers of any retail restaurant, of any clothing store, anything where you have to deal with the public, we don't want to interact with people who have contagious diseases, like that we can catch, right? Like, I just don't want that. I don't want to get sick going into Starbucks. And so he tweeted that. He was like, hey, basically y'all might want to stay away from the store today. Y'all might want to stay away from the store today because I've got COVID and they're making me come in. They're saying that I'll be fired if I don't come in. So I'm coming in. You might want to stay away. And he was fired for that. Fired for tweeting the truth. Fired for his speech. Elon Musk hasn't said anything, funny enough. We're going to talk about him later in the show, too. In Tennessee, 7 workers were fired at just one Memphis location. The group came to be known as the Memphis 7, and they were ultimately reinstated, with the final decision coming from a Trump-appointed district court judge. A Trump-appointed judge, okay? So, there's no dispute here. They're obviously... Starbucks is acting out of pocket. They're over their skis. They're out kicking their coverage, okay? But they went 8 months without their jobs, right? And that illustrates the imbalance of labor law. The National Labor Relations Board, they've also accused Starbucks of illegally withholding raises and benefits from unionized locations. And they have repeatedly asked federal courts to issue a nationwide cease and desist order against the company that they just got a couple days ago, actually. Maybe it was yesterday, even.
Wow, yeah, I wasn't aware that they finally got that granted.
Yep. Michigan judge, I think it was a Michigan judge that issued a nationwide cease and desist order. So I'm not sure what, telling them to stop firing union organizers in retaliation for their organizing. So that'll be good, and we'll hopefully look to see some pretty substantial injunctions and penalties coming from violation of that cease and desist order. Absolutely,
because, there is such a double standard.
Right.
Such a double standard.
So, but, so look, all of this to say, all of this list of, the stats and the nationwide numbers and the individual stories, all of this to say Starbucks is guilty of violating the law at a systemic level. At a systemic level, right? This is not just a one-off thing. One Starbucks manager at one location was ideologically anti-union and they were way, way over their skis, right? No, this is systemic. This is nationwide. This is a policy set from the top at the direction of CEO Howard Schultz. And so, Bernie Sanders says, you're breaking the law. We're not a country if we're not a country of laws, right? We can't have a country if we don't obey the laws. He wasn't saying it exactly like that. But that's basically the thing. You're breaking the law. You need to explain to us, the people who wrote this law, this federal labor law, you got to explain to us why you continue to break the law. And every Democratic member of the Senate Health, Education, and Labor and Pension Committee signed on to this letter request. Tommy Tuberville did not, despite the fact that this affects his constituents. This does. It affects his constituents. He did not sign on to the letter, and he did not respond to multiple requests for comment from myself and Haley for the story. Because he just doesn't think it matters. He just doesn't think it matters what happens to working people. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about us.
He doesn't care that you don't care.
Yeah. So, really pretty gross stuff from Tuberville. Not even, explaining to his constituency to his constituents his reasoning for not caring about about holding accountable a flagrant criminal. Just a flagrant criminal.
I'm just, you saying that, imagine for a second, Tommy Tuberville had a formidable Democratic opponent for his next election. I know that's quite the stretch of your imagination to imagine that he might have a formidable Democratic opponent in the next election. But let's just assume he does. If that Democratic candidate repeatedly came to the aid and service of a flagrant criminal, I feel like Tuberville's campaign would make something of that. In fact, being soft on crime has been a Republican talking point and strategic focus. You know, labeling opponents as soft on crime is something they've been doing since before either of us were born.
Right.
But that's that double standard. You know, it's CEOs have one standard. Working people have another. When working people commit crimes, we get beat up by the police. We get thrown in cages. All of our money's taken. And maybe we'll get out. Maybe we won't.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we see how many people never make it out of jails and prisons, particularly in Alabama.
Right.
But CEOs, they get to commit crime sprees.
Yeah.
And they have sitting senators come to their service.
Right.
A corporation's considered a person, right? Corporations are people, according to the Supreme Court. Means they can give unlimited amounts of money to campaigns. But do corporations ever get the same consequences as people?
No.
When's the last time a corporation got a death penalty? I mean, I'm shocked that there's apparently a cease and desist that actually is coming down the pike against Starbucks. But yeah, like you mentioned, what are the penalties going to be? What are the injunctions going to look like? How is it going to look in comparison to the way working people are treated?
Yeah. But, so that letter was a request. It was not, legally binding at this time. And Starbucks has responded denying the request. They said in a statement, given the timing of the transition, his relinquishment of any operating role in the company going forward, and what we understand to be the subject of the hearing, we believe another senior leader with ongoing responsibilities is best suited to address these matters. And no, that's just silly. Of course, this is, of course it's all a lie, right? They don't actually believe what they're saying. But to address what they're saying, the hearing is as much to be backward-looking as forward-looking. Explain to us your rationale for willfully and repeatedly violating federal law over the last year and a half. Why have you done this? Why have you directed your company to do this? Sure, there's going to be an interest in what the plan is going forward, but we want to know, he needs to answer for his crimes in the past. And nobody is better to answer to that than Howard Schultz. Obviously, it's almost silly to respond to the thing because they know it's a lie and you know it's a lie and I know it's a lie, but just to address it for anybody that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if either of us at our day jobs were committing crimes, we couldn't just say, well, you know what? I'm actually leaving this job. Someone else is going to take over. Right. So,
I'm not going to go to court.
But yeah.
No.
I mean, it's all ancient history, right? Yeah. I mean, someone else is I'm retiring. So whatever. I don't think it works that way for working people.
No, it doesn't. And so Bernie Sanders hinted that they would be issuing a subpoena. He said one way or another, he will be there. But as you know, that's not the decision of the chairman alone. So I'm not exactly sure how you go about issuing a subpoena, how many people have to support the subpoena. But undoubtedly, Tommy Tuberville will not support the subpoena. But we'll ask him. We'll ask him if he'll justify his silent support for lawbreakers. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And look forward to hopefully Howard Schultz being subpoenaed.
Yeah, definitely want to see that happen. And y'all check out Haley's article.
Yes. And we appreciate Haley's article.
Absolutely. Hopefully by this time next month, the website will be even more polished and easier to find articles like that. But yeah, great job with that, Haley. And Tuberville, you suck.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content
free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.